Welcome to Cool2Craft. I'm Tiffany Windsor.
And I'm Heidi Borchers.
Today's show is all about the joy of giving.
I'm going to be showing you one of everyone's favorite, Mama Aline's vintage technique of using bread and glue to make fabulous roses.
Candace Jedrowitz is creating wire magic on a broken piece of pottery. She's creating a magnet. And I will be creating these no-sew lavender sachets. It's a great show. Don't go away. The joy of giving. This is one of my favorite topics for a show.
Well, I actually even had a book called that once.
Oh, that's right. So you know all about the joy of giving.
I do, but I think as crafters that we do always tend to give things. We always try to make things from our heart and give them. It's so much more fun.
One of my very, very, very favorite gifts that was given to me was made by Mama Aline because she never had much time to craft. Mm-hmm. So we always treasured the little handmaids that come from Mama Aline.
Yeah. And do you remember that one?
Oh, yes, it was a little bell. It was a porcelain bell. She learned how to do porcelain painting. Mm-hmm. I still have them in my little collection on my tabletop in my room. Yeah. And I think I have a couple of them.
I probably have mine because I don't have mine anymore.
I was going to say, I don't think she made more than one for each of us, but I have several of them. So I think I must have snagged yours
Yeah, because
too.
I don't have mine anymore. You'd think I would, but I don't.
Yeah, so it's really a wonderful gift to create a handmade, and that's all about the joy of giving.
Right, I love it. I love to make family members all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh, you should see all of the things that Heidi has made us over the years, and the party planning for the holidays and everything. But we need to craft today. I could spend a whole hour talking about all of the great party themes that Mom has.
So
Mom has.
So go.
I see Mom right there. I'm talking to Heidi.
Hi, Mom.
Hi.
So go to your pantry and get out your white bread, and let's craft. For this recipe, I use 1 slice of white bread and the Aline's original tacky glue. And first what you do is you take your slice of bread, you remove the crust, and break it into little pieces into the cup. Also, day-old bread works better. This is actually a couple days old and it's perfect. Now, to 1 slice of bread, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of the original Aline's tacky glue. And make sure that it is a level tablespoon. There we go. Use a craft stick to put it into the bread. And then I also add a dab of cold cream. If you want to color it, you're going to add acrylic paint. For this rose, I used white. And you do need to, even though it looks like it's going to be white, you do need to add paint for the white color. Otherwise, when your bread dries, it'll look kind of translucent. So you're going to mix it all around. And yes, you're going to put it into your hands. Never fear, though, it always comes off. Make sure you get off the sides. And when it all sticks together, you can move it into your hands. Now, what I like to do first, make sure I don't have any glue on my hands. And I like to put a little bit of the cold cream on my hands. And and take it, put it all in my hand. Make sure I get it all. And for a few minutes it will be messy, but I promise you it will get your hands clean eventually. Actually, you have to remind you too, your hands should be clean before you start. And you just keep mixing. And it gets really sticky looking like that, but I promise you it does come off. You can already see it starting to come off on this side. Now remember, this is an air dry clay, so it needs to be kept in a plastic bag when you're not using it. And it lasts about a week when it's outside the refrigerator, maybe 2 or 3 weeks if it's in the refrigerator, but I definitely would try and use it right away. Again, even if it has one little spot, it still isn't done. If I can get that clean. And if it's really, really stubborn, then put a little bit more of the cold cream on your hands. And then put it into a plastic bag. In this plastic bag, I have another batch that I made a little bit earlier. So I like to let it rest for a little bit, maybe 10-15 minutes before I work with it. So let me clean my hands off and I'll be right back. So I've cleaned my space, I've cleaned my hands, and that's given time for my bread dough with glue to kind of rest. It just needs to rest after you've put it into a ball. So now it's ready to create a rose. Now, when you go to create a rose, you're going to pull off pieces and make them into a ball. They all need to be consistent. And if you think about a garden pea, then that's what you need to make them all the same size. Now, this piece that I'm using needs to be put into the bag while I'm creating each piece of my dough. So I'm going to put it in the bag. I've got a couple pieces out here. We can make the first and second petal. So if your hands are dry, then again, put a little bit of the cold cream on them. And this is the most important step on each rose that you make, is you want to really squish that petal so that it's really, really like paper thin. That's what makes it look more porcelain, is when you have it really thin. So I have my first petal and I'm going to make my bud. I roll it and then I just push a little bit back here, so as I roll it, that edge goes a little bit back. And there's my bud. You can actually use this just like this if you want a bud. And my second petal, again, paper thin. Go all around the piece of clay, the bread dough. It looks just like clay. And then put this up for my next petal. Wrap it around and push your edges down for your petal. You know, if you happen to have a real rose around, you can always look at a real rose for the placement of the petals. Again, paper thin. Put it up opposite the last one that you did. Roll your edges back, and then you have a medium size. Next petal. I'm going to put this down for a second, create my next petal. And put it over on this side. And roll it over like so. Now, when you watch the top of your rose, you want to make sure that all your petals are even. because if you go down, put them down too low, then it starts to look like a pine cone. Now mine's kind of thick here, so I'm gonna just roll it a little bit, and I'm gonna take off some of that extra. That's because some of my balls of dough are a little bit too big. I'll take one more here. And where does it need one? Here's a good spot. And there you have your rose. Now, I would let this dry, and when it's dry, I would probably cut off the back of it. And sometimes to let it dry, I will put a toothpick in the bottom and just stick it into something that will hold it. I want to show you how to make leaves. Put that right there. Now, I did my green mixture the same way, except for I added the green paint. Where on the rose we added the white, and this one I added the green. So we want to create a teardrop, like so, and then just flatten it. And I have a little piece of plastic here. This actually is opaque shrink plastic. I like the way that it's flexible, and this creates my veins. Put one like that, go back. Now, here's one of the little secrets, the designer secrets. Go back to each vein and push it back. Push it back, and that gives it a little bit more real looking. Pinch the top edge and the bottom edge, and there you have your leaf. Super simple. Now I wanted to show you two different rocks that I made, the paperweights. This one is like this. It's the pure color of the white that I made. This one, it's kind of a little hard to tell there. You can kind of see. I put a little bit of the black acrylic paint. You can see it on the leaves too. Before, when I was mixing the dough in the final stages, I actually put a little bit of black to make it look like it was a little bit of a stone look. So it toned it down a little bit. I really like that look. Perfect porcelain rose, just made out of bread and glue.
A lot of times when Heidi and I are teaching the bread dough roses in class, the biggest mistake, and I think you mentioned this in your demo, is that the petals are too thick.
Right. You've got to remember to just squish them in between your fingers, squish, and if you noticed, I kind of went around and squished them just as flat. I mean, it's almost paper thin. That's what makes them look the best.
Well, take a close-up look at these, because I also asked Heidi to do a couple of variations.
Right. The first one that you're going to see is just the one that I made on in the how-to. It's only the white paint. You have the white rose and the leaves. And then I thought, well, if she wanted me to kind of get like a stone look. So the next one when I went to go make my rose, I took just a chunk of the bread dough and put just a dab of, put a toothpick into the paint, put the paint, black paint into my bread dough, and I just kind of mixed it a little bit. And so when I made my rose, it had a little bit more of a look of stone, and I did the same thing with my green dough. So a little bit different look, and I think if you look really closely, it does. It has the look of stone. Good idea.
Thank you. Well, I gave Heidi the assignment of, she brought these stones in, and I said, paperweight. And I said, can you make the flowers look like stone? Mm-hmm. And so the marbleized effect is really cool. Yeah. I also want everyone to see your necklace, because this is the coolest.
On this necklace, I took some braid that I had. It's actually, I think it's actually for doing like home decor things. And I made a necklace out of it. It's my base is the braid. But if you look really closely, all the purple, different color purple roses are actually the bread dough roses that I just made. And then I have all kinds of vintage buttons. So it's very hard for me to let go of a necklace like this, because it has some of my favorite buttons on it. But I just love the look of this. It's very vintage looking. it's just this one's totally me.
And this one caught Mom's
Yeah.
eye when she walked in. It's like, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful that is.
But she forgot too that at a recent show she went to like a year ago, I made the exact same one in brown tones, and she wore it the whole time.
Do you remember that, Mom?
No.
Yeah, it's in brown tones, and you wore it. And everybody goes, "What's your necklace made?" Everybody came up and looked at your necklace.
Where is that necklace?
Unfortunately,
It's
when
in
you
studio.
wear something like that, you don't see it.
Yeah, totally. Good point, Mom.
So super cool. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Heidi. Candace J is really getting into the spirit of the joy of giving. Now she's spelling out the word joy with wire on a pottery magnet.
Very cool.
Hi, Candace.
Hi, Candace.
Thank you, Tiffany and Heidi. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my studio of Perpetual Mojo. For this episode, I wanted to come up with something that you could make a lot of quickly and easily. And so I have a little box, and what's inside of it is a joy, and you will want to give it to everyone. Sit back and relax, because it's all happening now. I'm starting with a piece of a bowl. It was a Marjorie Margulies bowl, and I was very disappointed when it broke. But I'm happy that I'm going to get to use it in this project. I'm using the wheeled tile cutters that Heidi showed us, and I'm trimming it roughly square. I'm sanding with the sanding sponge, and you can kind of shape it this way, but this is mostly to get the rough edges off, the sharp edges. For this next part, I want to write the word joy using 20 gauge wire, and this happens to be copper. It's my favorite. You'll need a pair of round nose pliers, and you can start either at the beginning or the ending of your word. Now I use the wide part of the round nose pliers to make the upper part of the J. I'm going to use the narrow end to make this whole letter, and you want to make sure that it fits well within the borders of your magnet. So now I have there we go. Now I want to go into the O, and in cursive the O starts over the top but then circles back around over the bottom, so I'm just going to crimp that, and then I'm going to come back around. I can go a little bit wider or roll it up a little bit more. Yeah, that looks better. And then it will loop at the top. And of course that'll be at the very end of your wire because that needs to be a small loop. There you have the loop at the top of the O. And then for the Y, that starts at the top. And let me get a little closer. And then circles around, and I'm going to have to crimp this the way I crimped the beginning of the O as well. Now you can just keep rolling up until you get to the bottom of your last cursive letter, and then that way you have a nice straight letter. So we're going to crimp this, and that's where the Y comes off of the O, and then of course it's going to fold back down, and that will need to be crimped as well. That's a little high. Let's go lower than that. Okay, now your letters will move around, and you just have to Move them back where you want them. I think that's probably a decent size for the top part of the Y. And then, of course, the Y circles back up in a loop. I keep grabbing the wrong pliers there. And crosses over itself. Double check it's going to fit. Yes, it is. Now, I have room for just a little bit of a flourish. So I'm going to trim that off and curl that down. And now I have my letters. Of course, you can also use letters that are already made. You could do individual letters with the wires and glue them all on. I have done that, and that looks very lovely. Now I'm ready to add a little bit of color and bling by pouring some, well, these are called micro beads, but they're not really beads, they don't have holes in them. But I mix all of the colors that I get to create this very fun confetti kind of color deal. I'm using the clear gel tacky glue to go along the edges, and I'm using a fair amount, and then I'm just going to pick up some color. You can do this after you've glued on your word and after that's dry, but I'm going to do one more thing to the front of this. So I'm doing this first. If they don't sit exactly the way you want them, you can adjust them. Now I'm just going to set it down. And I've already decided that this is how I want my word to go. Just like that. So I'm going to put a layer of the clear gel tacky glue all over the front. And it's going to level itself out. Even if it doesn't look like it, it is going to level itself out. Oh, I got a couple of beads in there that stuck to the end of the glue. So I'm going to take my craft knife and lift them out. And I'm also going to pop a couple of glue bubbles. And I'm going to direct it a little bit closer to the edge there and over here. And now I'm just going to drop the word on. And move it until I like the position. And you can see I'm pushing it down just a little bit as well. And you'll want to let that dry mostly overnight. And when it's completely dry, you will glue a magnet onto the back, and I used Aleene's original tacky glue to do that because I needed a nice firm hold. The last part of this gift is an origami box. They're very easy to make, and I'm going to post a link where you can go and see how they're made. I added the same detail to the bottom of the outer box, and then I added stringy yarn and a pearl bead. Right here is the link to show you how to make the origami box. And let yourself get carried away with it. Decorate it and make it as fancy as your little bit of joy inside of it. I think I'm going to include a note in this one for my BFF that says, "You are a joy to me." I hope that you're inspired to try something like this. I hope that if you do, you take pictures and show me. Email me, Candace@Cool2Craft.com, with your photos and stories. Stay crafty, my friends. Back to you, Tiffany and Heidi. Bye.
I want to try to write with the wire and spell the words.
I always love that.
I've never done that.
I always love it though when you have the words out of wire. There's something about that. It's so cool.
And how fun to be able to take broken pieces of pottery. I know that you resonate with that. Let me go into Heidi's studio. Let's see, can I find any broken pieces?
Oh yeah.
So we can do that project.
On the floor you can find it. She's always telling me she can't find anything in my studio. And it's like, if you go in the gallery, there's all that broken pottery on the floor.
That I know where that is. I asked Heidi just this morning, I said, can you draw a little schematic of your studio? I can't find a thing. And I can walk through and look right at what I'm trying to find and not even see it. I was looking for your pattern books the other day.
Yeah, she didn't even see it.
And it was like, I looked there. I know I looked there, but I couldn't see them. But
it's magic.
I know where your broken pottery pieces are.
But she was even looking for something the other day, and I wasn't home, so she went out and bought it, and I'm like, well, I had some of that. She's like, I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it. See, I can find things in my studio.
But she has them all neat. She doesn't have a studio like I have a studio.
And that's what's so cool for us to be able to work together.
And walk right through that door.
Right, because Heidi has the most amazing studio that even though I can't find anything, it's super cool. And I just go, Heidi, I should have called you when I couldn't find what I needed.
Yeah.
So my project is a lot more zen.
Well, and it's very, very simple. And I love it. I think it's really cool.
And that's the way I design. And I wanted to make, for the joy of giving for me is sharing my love for herbs and garden and zen. And so I saw this fabric in your fabric stash. So I did find something.
I did think, gosh, that does look familiar.
So I would like to show you how to create these no-sew lavender sachets. For my lavender sachets, I am using the Aleene's Fabric Fusion Peel and Stick Tape. This is a no-sew, permanent, and washable tape. It's great for these lavender pouches. The first thing I do is I actually cut a template. There's a couple of different sizes and shapes. Really, it depends on what size you want to create your sachets. What you want to do is bring this in from the edge because this is going to be the pattern for where you're going to put down your Aleene's Fabric Fusion Peel and Stick Tape. So working on the wrong side of my fabric, I'm just tracing around with a pencil. Now I take my tape, following that pattern line, just lay it down onto my fabric. And you want to do this along all four edges. Be sure when you are using your tape that you do not overlap the edges when you are gluing down. Just butt those corners right up. What happens is if you overlap, it makes it a lot more difficult to release the paper, and some of the glue then sticks where it shouldn't. So it's really much, much easier if you just butt those corners right up. Also on a project like this, you want to be sure and absolutely butt the corners up. Don't leave any gaps because this is where we're going to fill with the lavender. So you don't want any of the lavender pieces to pop out. The next thing I'm doing is you just cut right along the outside edge using the edge of the paper as your guide to get a straight line as best as possible. for your sachet. So again, just following right along the paper line. And I can see right there that I cut that corner a little short. So I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. Press that paper down, make sure that the tacky adhesive is fused onto your fabric. So working on the wrong side, I am going to remove the paper liner from the back here. Here's a little hint. You can just press on the back and it actually pops up the corner of that paper. And I'm only removing the paper on 3 sides because I want to leave this side where I can slip my lavender down into the pocket there. Laying this down on the wrong side of my fabric, and of course you could use a fabric that coordinates or contrasts. The choice is yours. Then just take your pinking shears and cut right along the edge. And of course this is right along the edge where the peel and stick tape is, so it's holding both of those layers of the fabric together. So I'm cutting along 3 sides. And this edge is still open so I can put the lavender in. But before you put your lavender in, you do want to stamp your word onto your sachet. So I've spelled out the word harmony, but you will notice that it's missing the O. I didn't have an O in this set. Not a problem. Give that a good press. What I do have from another set of stamps is a little heart, so that will serve as my O for harmony. So now it's time for you to go ahead and fill your pouch up with your lavender flowers here. Filling that pouch up. I'm sure you can devise a really nice paper funnel for this, but I'm just going to make a little bit of a mess and put my little petals in. You want to be sure and stuff them down in so that they're below the glue line. Going to check it out here. That looks good. Take my paper backing on the back of the tape to reveal the adhesive, and then glue that down. And the only thing I have left to do is to cut along that last edge. And now I have a really pretty lavender sachet. Here's another way that you can add the words onto your sachets. You can actually use the Aleene's peel and stick sheets, and you would glue this onto the back of a piece of fabric, and then you can cut it out, pull that backing off, and then use the extra piece of fabric as an applique and just press it into place. So it really depends on if you want to add one more layer of fabric and one more layer of detail. So you can put these together in a collection as a gift or individually. So the joy of giving for me is to reminding my girlfriends to breathe.
Oh, it's a gift. Thank you.
And breathe it in.
Oh, it smells so good.
What's cool about these is I like to travel with these. So when I'm on the road, you know, if I'm on the airplane and I just want to breathe, or in the hotel room. So You can put together a whole stack of these and wrap them in a ribbon and give them as a cute little joy of giving gift.
Very cool.
Pretty neat, if I might say so myself. So for those of you who have just joined us, we would like to go back and let you know what we shared on today's show.
I made these really cool paperweights with the flowers, and you can also do jewelry, anything. You can make flowers big, small. It's lots of fun.
Remember the key. I cannot impress upon you enough. The key to making these flowers. I want everyone to be successful in making these is to make the petals very, very thin and have a rose nearby. Take a look
That
at
really
a rose,
helps.
a photo, or if you have a rose in the garden, and take a look at it, and it's going to help you place all of those petals.
Because you can make the flowers with the thick petals, but you won't get this really nice porcelain look unless you do the really, really thin petals. That's how you get the look.
And I do want to let everyone know, these, even though they're thin, they're very durable because of the Aleene's tacky glue.
And because the tacky glue's in them, they don't attract bugs either. So if you used to make them with like a paste or flour, that's what attracted the bugs. The bugs are not attracted. I have some flowers that were made 20, 30 years ago, and there's no bugs.
Pretty cool. Love that project. Candace Jedrowitz created this magnet. She is getting in the spirit of the theme of today's show of the joy of giving, spelling out the word joy with wire. She has put this onto a broken pottery piece to create a magnet.
I love it.
It's joyful.
And you made today.
I created these no-sew lavender sachets using the Aleene's Fabric Fusion peel and stick sheets and the peel and stick tape. Makes it so fast to create these.
You have no excuse for not to making your own gifts for giving.
And it is so joy-filled when you create your own gifts. To the expression on your girlfriend's face or family member, whoever it is that you're gifting, is like, oh my gosh, you took the time to make this for me.
It's really special.
Pretty cool. I would like to invite all of you to join us at Facebook. That's facebook.com/Cool2Craft. If you haven't already done so, be sure and head over and like us. And we post everything that's going on at Cool2Craft on our Facebook fan page.
We do all the projects, and don't forget to go to Cool2Craft.com. The dog is deciding that she wants to pop in. Hello!
She's peeking her head in the window.
So go to Cool2Craft.com because all of our videos and all kinds of information, there's tutorials there, and you can get all the information there on Cool2Craft.com. Be sure that you also in the right-hand up in the right-hand corner, if you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, be sure you click on that and sign up for the newsletter, because there are all kinds of information that come to you a couple times a week between Fave Crafts and Cool2Craft that gives you all kinds of designs.
So I was distracted by your dog. Did we talk about Almost Dailies?
No, we didn't.
Little things like that go into Almost Dailies. Be sure and sign up. It's so funny because I was watching the show recently and I realized all I had to do, if you're watching the show on the Cool2Craft.com page, is say, go right here, look right above us, and you can click on Almost Dailies to sign up for the Almost Dailies newsletter. We're all looking up here. It's right up
And
there.
I keep saying the right-hand corner, the right-hand corner.
And if you're watching on the Cool2Craft page, it's right up here. And if you're not on Cool2Craft page, then you'll have to go there to see where the sign up is.
Well, if you're not, you should be there.
You should. So join us for Almost Dailies. It's just been one of those days.
And Mama sneezing.
We have an audience today between the dog and Mama Aline. She's laughing until she's going to fall off her chair. We'll add that to Almost Dailies. They made it to the real show today. So, gosh, I think that's our cue. That's like, gotta go, right? So get creative.
Get inspired.
Be cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Mwah.